Welcome to Commander's Paradise.
Hey, I'm Tyler.
I'm Ryan.
And this is Commander Paradise, but you probably know that. You hit the button on, like, to hit play, so welcome.
Yeah.
We got some guests on for this episode. We got some cool people from a cool podcast called the Howling Salt Mine. It's a really sweet Magic the Gathering podcast where they talk about some salty stories. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Hell yeah! I'm your co-host, Tony.
And I'm the host of the Howling Salt Mine, Sam. Thanks for
Welcome.
having us, guys. This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Yeah, we've been excited for this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we honestly had to like gear up to even like ask you. We were like talking about it in like February, and we are like, "Oh man, I don't want to like bother them. What if they just say no?" But so
Yeah, he was like, "What if they just don't respond? What if they just don't say anything?" I was like, That's the worst that could happen, I guess.
Yeah, right.
That is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, if we stole your lunch money and then said no, that would be worse, I suppose. But
That's
like,
right.
If we
That
like
would
drove
be
to your house
crazy.
and beat you up or something, that would be pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Drive to Columbus, Ohio, punch my stomach, and then hold me upside down and shake me for the
Way
change.
too far. I wouldn't drive.
Just pay someone on Fiverr
we've
to
been
do
there
it.
too, man. We've like reached out to people and been like, "Oh my god, are they gonna do anything?" Truthfully, I will say, quick compliment right off the top. Our litmus test, generally speaking, for like doing guest spots is if the person has good audio quality. That's like what we've learned after doing our podcast for a year. And if a podcast has good audio quality, we're like, cool, that's awesome. Check the first box. Then it's like,
which
are they
feels like a
cool?
low bar, but at the same time, it's not.
fucking
Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
And then it's
some-
like, are they cool? Is the vibe good? And it's like, okay, sick. It is good. This is something we can definitely do. And then, like, are they saying problematic shit? If they're doing that, we don't do it also. But those
Yeah,
are kind of
that's
like the
fair.
three
Yeah.
things.
looks like you guys cleared it.
Yeah.
So, what kind of stuff do you guys talk about on your podcast? Like, what is your show about?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So the Howling Salt Mine, lately I've been describing it as a comedy advice podcast. And even more recently, as in like earlier this morning, I started describing it as my brother and me, but we talk about magic and we're not brothers. Which, if you know that podcast, that's like kind of the vibe that we try to embody. So basically, if you've ever been on the EDH subreddit or the Magic TCG subreddit or something, you find these stories where people are like, this dude cast an MLD and fucking flipped the table and like punched me on the way out the store. Am I a bad person for this? Like, am I right feeling salty? So it kind of started as this thing where we were just like sharing those stories between the four of us, me, Tony, our co-host Mike, who isn't here, and then Nick, what we call our mythical fourth pod member, who's an occasional guest host. And we used to just share them, laugh, and then we were like, hey, I think this could be something. And basically we just take these stories, we read them, we talk about the play group dynamics at play, we talk about the cards, we tell a bunch of jokes, and relate to the salt a little bit, give some salt ratings. We got a salty card of the week. We sing impromptu something. It's a good time. Yeah, it's a fun show for sure.
Yeah, it's about
You guys have
finding...
a great.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it's about finding like the salt on the interwebs, and it's plentiful.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
especially
the
in
internet's
Magic.
built on salt.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Like gaming in general, like
Yeah,
super
exactly.
salty.
It's
you
just
find
like,
nerds, and
ingrained
they're
in
gonna
the
be
culture.
salty about shit.
They're gonna be
like-
mad about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
if
yeah,
you got
we
a hobby you
harvest
care
that.
about.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that anybody who cares about their hobby can really relate to, and we take that and hopefully convert it into entertainment for the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think it's
absolutely.
I think they're super funny.
Yeah, I think it's a
thank
good
you.
time.
Yeah, we've been doing it for like a little over a year now, and we dig it for sure. It's fun.
Nice. Yeah, let's fucking go. I was talking to my roommate about it because she was asking who was going to be who we were talking to tonight, and I described your podcast and everything, and she said, "Oh, so it's kind of like Am I the Asshole Magic Edition?" And I was like,
Yes.
pretty much, yeah. It's pretty
Yep.
much, yeah. That or the inverse, is this person the asshole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this other person the asshole?
Yeah, a lot of it is just like, well, this person did this thing, and I think they kind of suck. Do they kind of suck?
Yeah.
And you're like, they kind of suck, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how, like, I think an interesting thread through the whole show is, like, how there's, like, this kind of lack of confidence in those moments where someone does some, like, whack shit in a game, and you're like, whoa, is it okay that I feel weird about this and that I don't like it? And then they post it on Reddit, and there's just 300 comments where everyone's like, yeah, that person was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they talk. There's that. Everyone talks about like a Rule Zero discussion and the social contract and stuff. But then there's also just like, sometimes you just don't know how to act in those situations because you don't want to be like causing a
Yeah.
problem, and then everyone's staring at you. If you're in an LGS or something, you don't want people being like, well, what's going on at their table, like kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
I've been there,
Yeah.
and it's always super awkward. So it's like, what? Just let you do your thing. This game will be done because you're playing Thoracle
Oh,
when
yeah.
we said we're doing a power level 2, and we'll just go home, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
nerds are so conflict averse that like even where Tony and I are on the damn show, and I think if that happened to me in real life, I would just be like, okay. And
Yeah.
we just let the moment go by and be like, let's just like, I'll talk about it later. Let's just let this pass. This is
Yeah.
very awkward,
yeah. I'm gonna let it burn off after the fact. I'm gonna just I'm just gonna sit and let it happen at the moment, and then later on I'll be like, I can't believe they fucking did that. That shit's fucking insane. And then you're like, what? Okay, now I've just let that burn for 2.5 hours. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some salty moments in our pod a couple times.
It's interesting when
Trying to
it's
think how to phrase it, yeah.
very insular play group. You know what I mean? You're playing with all of your very close friends. So then when it
Yeah.
gets salty, you're like,
I don't wanna be mad at you. You're like my friend.
And then you're like, well, wait a second. No, we can't go that far.
Yeah.
We definitely have nights where we just sign off.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like, sometimes you need to like, okay, we gotta calm down a little bit. Let's all go our separate ways because we're coming back next Tuesday. Like it's happening. So like,
Yeah, exactly. I
I'm
got
trying to shatter friendships over this right now.
Put too much money in this game. I'm not going to just step away because of that. But
Yeah.
I need to cool off for a minute. It's especially funny when it's like the quick sign off on spell table. Like no one, you might not leave the Discord call or anything, but the spell table camera cuts immediately after you go to 0 life, and you're like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, it's like how long do you stick around for the pleasantries at the end of a game? Like if you just fuck off immediately and you're like, all right, I'm going to bed, bye guys. Like I know that there's some salt there, If you hang out and you're like, yeah, see you guys next week. Oh, that game was fun. What's going on this weekend? Have the chit chat. Like you're probably good. You're probably on good terms.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably pretty fine. But the minute you just sign off, you're like, all right, I'm going to bed, bye. All right, we will just
I've
figure
been
that
there.
out next week. And then sometimes the grudge carries over, so you just like slam on that person harder next week, or they hit you harder.
Yeah, I've 100% been there, and I've had many times in our group in like the early days. I hope I don't get this salty anymore. Tony, you can confirm if I do or not.
We'll just leave it at that.
There are definitely times where I would like wake up the next day and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I was a real dickhead," And that's kind of where we started. So we track a lot of games in our group. We play weekly. It's the 4 of us. It's very insulated, and like fucking 3 years ago. I don't know why. I just started like tracking the games because I think we thought the stats would be funny or like interesting. And over the course of tracking our games, we started to track salt to be like, okay, who is the saltiest player that game? Because we were at this point where the salt was just so uncontrollable. And we were always pointing fingers like, I think you were saltier than me. Nah, you were saltier than me. And they're like, let's boil this down to a percentage because we're just a bunch of engineering nerds. Like, let's boil this to a stat that we can point to and be like, unequivocally, Sam is the saltiest person in the pod.
I was gonna say, and he says this, but for the record, Sam has always been the saltiest member of the
No,
pod, except for
not
a
fucking
singular moment where Nick surpassed him.
Nick overtook me again. Nick is the saltiest player right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's because I wasn't in the game.
I'm like 12.4 and he's 12.6. He's been on like a salty streak for the last couple of games.
How did you guys like boil it down? How did you quantify the salt? How do you get to like a 12.6 or a 12?
Well, it all kind of rolls up in our stats. So we basically track every single game, and then we can say, like, you know, we've played, I don't know what it is, like 500 games or something like that. And then at the end of each game, we vote on who is the saltiest player. And it's either one or two people. Sometimes the salt is enough where we just put two names in there. And then we have another spreadsheet that, like, basically reads into that data with just a pretty simple equation and, you know, calculates off, like, your total percentage of saltiness. Like, over the total games that you've played, how many times were you voted the saltiest player? And then that distills out your percentage. So
Okay.
I will say, like, even though I'm 12.5 or whatever percent, a lot of that is skewed because when we first started, I was like 22 or something percent. Like
1 in 5 games. Sam was
and
like raging.
It takes some time to boil that number down, man. Like, you got to have a long streak of not being salty to make a dent in that number when you play so many games.
You're on like good behavior right now.
Exactly. I'm trying. I'm trying to be a changed man, but sometimes Tony just plays Archfiend of Ifnir and I fucking freak out.
No, that's incredibly fair. You shouldn't get docked for that.
See, that's not what he gets docked for. He gets docked when he like fucking loses his shit over it.
Oh, sure.
He goes for a move it for the 3rd time, and he's like, "Why do I still have to do this?"
Oh man, yeah, fuck that fucking card. Who's the saltiest player in your group? Between the two of you, who would you say is saltiest?
Ooh,
Me. It's definitely me.
yeah, I'll definitely
So
have
quick to
some
claim it.
pockets.
I think I'm the only one that's had to apologize for being an asshole to Ryan for like just being too mean about something stupid in a card game.
I
Like,
feel you.
That's
like I was mean in the game, and then like in the same spell table game, I'm like texting him being like, I shouldn't have said that. I'm really sorry.
just my phone's
feel
like
you,
sitting
dude.
right here, and I see it light up, and I was like, "Oh, that's fine." I was like, it wasn't that big of a deal. The worst of it sometimes comes up because I have a coma deck, and
Oh.
he
Yeah, you
always
deserve that
knows.
shit, dude.
Yeah.
I know, like it's my fault.
Thank
but
you. Thank
it's my
you,
fault,
dude.
But the
Get no
problem
sympathy
is,
from us for a coma deck.
okay, maybe I'm preaching to the wrong people, but he every time, without fail, he always has a Path to Exile or a Swords
Nice.
to Plowshare in hand, so he gets it on the next upkeep immediately every time I play the deck. And so finally
you
one
gotta
day
do it,
I
man.
just had enough and just immediately recast it and hated him out of the game. I think everyone else was still at like 35-30 life, and I just like kept hitting Tyler over and over and over again. And then
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was,
I
This
resonate.
was, that was actually
I was gonna say
that
I
was actually
resonate
the first
with that
time.
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to spite someone right out of the game.
Yeah, that's usually
Yeah.
how
I got it.
remove people from the game.
Yes,
for
I know.
them hitting me
removal.
for 1 life at the beginning of the game with like a Land of War Elves, I'm like,
Yeah.
you should have just let it sit there. Like, fuck you.
that's supposed to be used for mana. Why didn't you do that?
Yeah, right. It's a sacrilege, frankly.
Yeah, you're playing the game wrong, so I'm going to hate you out. If you don't know how to play the game, don't play the game.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm trying to think of other... We had one that was kind of heinously hilarious. What was the land that...
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was one of the Boros lands that like give double strike. It's like you pay 4
yeah.
and target creature gains double strike. And our friend, so we have a pretty generous take back policy where it's like you can, if you're in the same phase, you can take something back for the most part. And it's a little, sometimes it's a little too loosey goosey, and that's probably what led to this problem.
Yeah.
is because he let an attack go through, and then our friend had a Zabaz deck, and then he gave it double strike, and it was enough to kill him.
Fucking Zabaz.
And so he was like, "Oh, well, can I do like a takesy backsy on that? I forgot that was there, and I wouldn't have done that if I had realized." And then the three of us were like, "Well, it's like a combat trick, and you kind of got tricked, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of
Got, bruh.
You kind of just got in that moment, you know?
Supposed to do, you know?
And you could tell he was a little upset about it, and he was like, "Well, maybe I'll bring that up during the next time. The next time somebody wants to take something back."
15...
And I was like, "Okay, that's kind of fair," but
yeah, there was a solid 15-minute conversation debating whether or not to do a takes backsy on that combat step, which we were all like very like, no, that can't happen because that's how it works.
Yeah.
But then it also just evolved into take backs in general, and we just almost stopped playing the game for a good 10 minutes, and we were like, well, maybe we just shouldn't do this at all anymore then, okay? And then the game finished, and we were all like, well, okay, maybe it was a bit haste. Okay, sorry. You did get got, and I know that's frustrating, but we smoothed it all out. But it just went like from just playing the game to us like yelling within about 10 minutes. It was crazy.
Yeah.
it was a little not good.
That
Dude, when
that
the
was the
game is
craziest
on the
we've ever had.
line, when the game is on the line, like those takebacks, the rules all go away. Like we have that too, where in casual, generally, you know, we're pretty good with takebacks unless there's like revealed information. Sometimes we're just belligerent with it.
I feel like we're like
we'll
not,
be like,
we don't allow it.
I don't. I mean,
It's
sometimes
only the
we're just
information
like,
piece.
I'm fucking taking it back because it's a casual game, and we just kind of laugh.
Well,
when
yeah,
it
that
happens.
definitely happens, but that's not other people allowing it. That's someone just being like, "Oh yeah,
forcing it.
I'm gonna take that back because it's
Yeah, I'm
casual."
taking it back anyways. I don't give a shit. But like when you're about to win or like you're about to knock someone out, like those takebacks, man. You know, that's not the right moment to ask for one. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it makes salt, right? Like, cause somebody's
Yeah.
like, "Fuck!" Like I was gonna win, or
Exactly.
you lost as a result, right? So,
yeah, it's high stakes at that point.
Yeah, it's like two salt giants smashing their heads together because one person doesn't want to lose, the other person really wants to win that
Yeah.
specific moment, and then they just started duking it out, and we were like, okay, let's go take a pee break real fast, take a quick 5, and then we'll come back and finish it because this has to finish. We have to end this.
Yeah, just like the most biased argument from either side because they both don't want the other thing to happen like at all.
Yeah.
I feel like these are moments that like every EDH player has, you know, and it's interesting because sometimes we get salty stories about like 60 card formats, like Modern and stuff like that. And a lot of that has to do with more like feel bads in a tournament or just being totally outclassed by a specific deck or archetype. But it's really that like social piece that comes in with Commander games and the dynamics of having 4 players against each other that just cause these moments where, you know, target prioritization is weird or somebody did something and you're like, why the fuck did you do that? Or, you know, someone just disrupts you doing your thing and the vibes are weird and there's like all these different things that can generate salt. And I think that's why I like it so much because everybody knows that.
that's why you like
Yeah.
salt.
I fucking love salt, dude. I love it.
Fucking little salt gremlin over there.
I am, dude.
The whole game's bland without it.
Yeah.
True life.
Yeah.
I definitely get like the people targeting your stuff, like, or like I'm feeling it. For me, the thing that I used to get really, really salty about is that it'd be like people would blow up my thing. I feel like it's unjustified, and like there's
Yeah.
a more important thing on the field, and I really just had to like get over it and like just be like, that's their spell. They have knowledge that I don't have, and like they got a whole hand of cards of things that I don't know about, and like I just need to like just get over it. Like it's their spell. They're gonna choose to cast it. Like.
I feel like in
it is
our
what
pod,
it
we
is.
don't do
fucking
that.
idiot, man.
Yeah.
That person's a stupid idiot.
That's I keep that on the inside, but I used to let it go in the outside and be like, why are you blowing up my thing and being like kind of a jerk about it? So I've definitely simmered down a little bit about
No,
it.
you always got some undeserved hate because Tyler was the one that got us all into the game, so he had a little bit of a leg up originally. So a lot of games felt like archenemy against Tyler, and then once we all kind of learned what we were doing, it just turned into 3 people beating up Tyler until we realized we were all on the same level. And there's definitely some games he was like, guys, I don't have anything on the field but my commander, and it already costs 8 more to cast. Please don't remove it. And then someone was like,
just leave me alone.
I'm gonna beast within it. And it's like, there's so many times it didn't make any sense, but we all thought he was the threat because he knew more than us. So we were like, we just gotta punch him.
I feel like we had that with Nick for a little bit when our pod first formed up. Nick would just play these salty decks. Like, he had this Mogus deck that would just like crush us with these brutal enchantments, and then kind of like finish the game with like MLD or something. Just these like crazy board wipes, and we were like, "Fuck you, dude!" And then you just continue to get grounded to the ground with these crazy enchantments. So it was just always like an arch enemy game. Like, we would start and be like, "All right, we have to kill Nick right now."
Because he always makes decks that just like pop off. Like that was his problem. Like, I feel like the art of Commander is finding the deck that pops off like second or third. Like, so that like you're not actually the first threat always gets taken care of. And if it does on the rare, it's probably like 1 in 10 times I would bet that like the first deck that pops off like wins. Right. Yeah. Like it can happen. Like if it's left unaddressed. But in general, it's always that like second or third person. But like, I'm still hammering the first one. I'm still like, nah, dude, you fucking did that like 4 turns ago, and I still am mad about it. Like,
well, it's this interesting thing where like you think of your 4 players mulliganing, right? Everybody mulligans, you get a good hand. Out of 4 players, you probably have at least 1 piece of removal in one of those 4 hands, if not 2 pieces of removal. So when the first powerful thing hits the board, well, that player who started with the Path to Exile in their hand is looking at it, and they're like, this might be worth casting right now on that thing. So it's kind of that concept of like the tallest nail gets hammered down first, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where like, if you put your neck out a little bit too early in a Commander game, like, you're just gonna eat it. You're gonna eat a bunch of removal, you're gonna get your shit blown out of the water, and then like the second or third player is really gonna swoop in and crush. CDH is very similar too. Like, the first player to try to combo off, generally speaking, does not combo off and gets stopped, and the next player jumps in and pops off.
Yeah. Unless it's like one of those crazy, like, literally turn 1 Thoracle or something crazy. But like, it's like, like the first guy never gets it.
Yep. Do you guys play CDH?
Yeah, a little bit.
Ooh, what decks
we
you
got
play?
decks.
Yeah, we're very like baby about it, still getting into it and stuff. But I play a Urza deck that it's just belligerent Urza, and then a Jessica Ishai deck.
Oh, dude, my man, I love Jessica Ishai. You kidding me? It's so good.
It's so much fun, and then just the possibility of like a turn 1 Ishai is so much fun. And then you just get it out, and then just all the counters start racking up. It's so much fun.
It's crazy.
Fucking love that. What are you playing, Tyler?
Yeah.
I play Dawnwaker Thrasios. It's like my main deck. Yeah, it's real good. I just play Comedian's List because that guy is way smarter than me.
Yeah, it's a very good list for sure. I do the same. I play pretty much the stock list. I think I have a couple cards swapped because I didn't want to like buy a new card, and then he changed the list back, and I'm like, hey, sweet, now it matches again.
And that's kind of it. I have a full like printed thing of Yuriko, but I just haven't cut it out yet. So,
dude, Yuriko
one day.
Yeah, fuck Yuriko too.
And then I have Sauron the Dark Lord that I'm gonna make CDH soon.
Oh, spicy!
Hell yeah!
Yeah, that's sick. I've heard that deck is pretty
crazy.
Well, what do you guys play? What do you play?
Tony, do you want to go first?
The Bay, S tier, Selvala, the Parlay Selvala.
Hell yeah.
Can't be beat.
Total
Probably the best deck in the format. Comedians admitted to it.
It's a pretty shitty deck.
Nice.
You're a piece of shit. How many times have you lost to it? Many. Many is the correct answer.
I don't know. We could bring up the stats. I don't think it's that many.
Only a couple many.
Yeah, a handful. How many times have I been handed the game because of it? Also a handful. No, it's an interesting deck. Tony does pilot it well. I'll admit it on this podcast because it's not on ours. But
yeah,
it is
on ours.
It is a pretty
shit
good
on
deck.
all the time.
Yeah, on ours we have to shit on it.
I go down the
that's
path more of like playing one deck and like kind of knowing it well, as opposed to like, and fuck blue because I hate blue, but like. I want to play all the like weird CDH decks that are just basically not viable because they can't like win. Is my problem. Like I played Godo for a while.
The Godo's
I
sweet.
played Godo
Godo
into
is
a
sweet.
fucking control meta, which was a problem. Like that just didn't work.
Yeah.
There's 3 blue decks at the table, and me trying to jam Godo on like turn 2 or 3, not getting it because someone would counter something, and then just being like, well. I guess I'll sit here for the next fucking 40 minutes while you guys play with each other. Like,
yeah, well, you also like would not pick your moment. You would turbo it out so hard and be like, "Here I go," and we'd be like, "All right, well, counterspell." And you're like,
well, I mean, that's what that deck did, but
no
it
one
didn't.
had a counterspell.
There was no right moment. Like,
There
again,
is,
three fucking control decks at the table. But then I also played Anya Falconwrath for a while, which
Oh, that
also
was-
got
oh,
yoinked
yeah, that's
so
cool.
many times. Like, I can't tell you the number of times
dragon
that
shit.
it's like every fucking time they would vapor snag or whatever the fuck my I would lose my whole board. Everything would be exiled to the World Gorger loop, and it never worked. So
It was so
anyway,
good. I loved it.
that's my that's
Yeah.
my CDH decks.
And I play, like, the big one that I play and I chat all the time about, and Tony and Mike tease me about, is Marath. It's Marath stacks. So it's like a 9
sorry.
stacks
Oh,
list.
yes.
He's a moderator of a Discord, guys. So like, please give him the respect he deserves,
Sorry.
which is
Excuse me.
0.
Yeah. I was asked to moderate the Discord because I'm like one of the only people that still plays the deck.
I just assumed you're one of the
That's
only people
hilarious.
in the Discord. Like,
There's a lot of people. You'd be surprised. But there's like only a small group of people that still play the deck, and it's really fun for me. It's like the most brutal, as Mike would describe it, like the most degenerate stacks deck you could possibly imagine. Because Marath can ping things, so it's like just a pure resource denial deck where I'm running like a bunch of layered stacks effects, and then I'm shooting mana dorks just because I can, because it's evil, and killing creatures and stuff. It's got a lot of creature removal in it. And then it has the Holy Trinity lock, which is Collector Oof, so artifacts can't be activated. Living Plane, which turns all of your lands into creatures. And then Linvala, Keeper of Silence, which says your opponent's creatures can't activate activated abilities. So once the lands are creatures, Linvala makes it so you can't tap your lands for mana, and you can't tap your mana rocks for mana, and you basically can't get mana. And it's awesome. I love it.
It sounds just like so much fun. Just like
It's a lot of fun for me.
it's the fucking
Yeah, it's the
worst.
only thing that can beat that, like a Force of Vigor. Is that it?
Yeah, Force of Vigor or Elvish Spirit Guide with like what is that with that channel land, the new channel land,
Beseiju.
Yeah, Beseiju will get it, and that's pretty much the only way out of that. But usually when I get it, the game is kind of over. It's got a couple other combo wins in there too, but that's like the kind of like achievement win, the mini game.
Have you ever gotten it?
Yet? Yeah,
I don't remember.
hell yeah.
it's very good. It's really fun.
I don't think I've ever been in a game where you
Nice.
actually got all 3 of them.
Yeah, I
like
don't
you
know.
definitely
I don't
won
know if I
a
have,
game
dude.
here and there, but like,
Oh
you
my
know.
god, here it comes. Yeah, this fucking lies. Propaganda.
That is not a lie. That deck.
It fucking is, dude. It is.
Show
And
me
then I play Dawnwaker as well. Dawnwaker Thrasios. I have like a blue farm list. I'm the opposite of Tony, where I would just play a bunch of random shit, and I'm constantly changing decks. Lately, I have been focused on like just a handful to try to have any sort of skill piloting them, but. For a long time, I was just changing decks all the time. Like I played Gitrog for a couple games and fucking hated it, and did a bunch of other shit.
Yeah, Gitrog loops get really, really intense.
They're
Yeah,
so
I just had to
complicated.
pull up the primer to go through it. Like it was very challenging,
Yeah.
but fun.
Nice. That's sick.
I think Dawn Waker is challenging. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just need a mulligan better. But like my first CDH game with it, I won like perfectly, nice. And then I've never done well with it ever since.
It's fun. It's just grinding value. Like you get Thrasios out, you get some kind of cost reducer or Seaborn Muse, and then you're just trying to draw as many cards as you can and like outvalue the board, and then you eventually pop off. It's kind of like a lazy man's deck. Yes. Yeah. Mulliganing is hard, and I'm bad at it.
Yeah, that's why I want to try Yuriko, because it's like 2 colors and it seems much more streamlined. It's like I get a ninja and then I deal 12 damage and then I get a ninja and then I deal 8 damage and like that's it.
I love Yuriko, dude. I used to play Yuriko when we first started playing CDH. I played Yuriko and it was a menace. It was really fun.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
maybe I'll do that tomorrow.
It's fast
chop up all the cards
too. Like it just goes. It's just like pressures the table hard, and other people who are on a like ad nauseum and shit like that, it just really kind of puts them in a bad spot.
True.
So that you know what to do, Ryan. Remove all of his creatures. Don't let him swing with the creatures. Don't remove Yuriko, because you basically can't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just remove his creatures. Never let him swing, and you'll be okay. And he'll cry a lot, but don't let it get to you. Remove his
That's what lets me sleep at night.
Yeah.
A little salt bath before bed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of Epsom salts, I use Tyler salts.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Super relaxing. So.
Well, speaking of salt, we had a couple questions about like your experience with your show so far.
Yeah.
And like your salty knowledge, because I feel like you guys are probably the most knowledgeable of this subject in the Magic scene at this point. Like you're like over 50 episodes in or something. So
yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I mean, no one else knows as much as you guys about it. So, what is has your show and seeing all the salty stories change your playing habits at all? Like, have you guys stopped playing certain strategies or cards, or has it like just changed your outlook on the game at all, or like it's kind of a wide open question?
Yeah,
I'll start. I think it's made us more degenerates, because half the time we're reading so we take the top 100 cards off of the EDH Rex salty list. They do like a poll every year. And so we like pick one of those each week and like talk about it and talk about why we think it does or doesn't make us and salty. And so now what we're doing is we're like, yeah, like I could see how that could be salty. I feel like I could put that in a deck. I feel like I could like brew something around that. And like I feel like
I've heard you guys say that.
Yeah, we haven't done too much of that, but we've definitely thought about it more. But it's interesting, because I feel like we talk about salt so much that it feels like it has somehow made us saltier in our like it's almost like we're pointing it out more, maybe is what it is. We're like, you're fucking being salty, like this is bullshit. And it like drives it higher somehow within our pod. Like is kind of been my experience almost. I'm almost looking to it and like pointing at it. I'm never deliberately trying to make it, but that's just like my shtick is that I'm never deliberately trying to make it. I just always do. Like every deck I make, somehow I upset them. I upset the pod.
Yeah, Tony tends to make a lot of fucking salty decks.
They're just good decks. I don't know. Just get better. Get good.
I mean, they are.
I don't know what to tell you.
I would say that, just adding on to what Tony said, I think it has changed how we play, but in like very subtle ways. Like one of the things that makes people the saltiest kind of across the board is long turns. And you know, as much as we like joke about it and kind of tease Tony about it on the show, we do actually do a pretty good job of like when we're gonna like tank and take a long turn, of like kind of making that known and being like, hey guys, I'm thinking things through, this is gonna take a little bit. And that's something that we didn't used to do, and I think now we kind of do it a little bit more instinctively. As far as like affecting deck building, I think that we have, just as a group, over time become a little bit more like not immune to salt, but a little bit more like resilient to saltier decks, or more willing to play against a salty deck. Like Tony does have decks that make us salty, but we'll still play against them. We'll just make a bunch of jokes while we're playing against them. You know what I mean? We'll be like, "Oh, this fucking deck," but we'll still play against them. Like it's been a long time since we've been like, "Don't bring that deck back." You know? Yeah. And even then, those moments are kind of rare. I think usually when someone chooses to retire a deck, specifically Tony with a couple of his decks, it's because the win that it gave him, where all of us were super salty, just wasn't satisfying, and he didn't want to repeat that experience again. Less of us being like, never ever play your Willow Dusk deck again.
Yeah, it's just like the feel bad of it all.
Yeah, like it's not fun to have your friends scoop because they just feel demoralized.
Yeah,
that's that's super
definitely
fair.
how Rubinia goes.
Yeah, they're just like, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah. You've got all my toys.
Who's Rubinia?
It's the deck
Yeah.
Josh has. It's the fairy that doesn't it tap to take something.
Oh, it steals your stuff.
And then
yeah,
you-
that thing.
Don't you control it until?
So
Yeah,
you
go
may
ahead.
choose.
untaps
It has the flavor
Yeah.
text. I like to say that you may choose to not
A flavor
untap
text.
Rubinia in your upkeep, and for as long as Rubinia remains tapped, you gain control of like target creature. And so at first, I made it tribal. You may choose to not untap. And so there's like a whole bunch of cards in Magic's history that like do this. A lot of them are taking shit from people.
Yeah.
And
majority
in my
of them.
mind, I was like, this will be great. Like, this is so like funny. It's like weird old text, and I'll be able to give stuff back to people. Like, it'll be fine. But what you quickly realize once you do start taking people's shit is that you don't want to give it back to them. Like, if I took it in the first place, there's usually not a good reason for me to give it back to you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just like such a fail. The first game I played it did better than it probably should have. I feel like that is like one of my. I think I have a lot of luck on the first appearance of decks. Like
Yeah,
they
you
just
do.
tend to like pop off and do the thing, and then they don't pop off that hard. But I got like all the pieces I needed to get, and they just conceded, and I really felt bad. Like I won, and I felt dirty. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
feel good about what happened that night.
Yeah.
It was, I think, the first concession win we'd ever had, where like
What?
everyone just conceded to me, and that is how I won the game, because I wasn't gonna win quick. It was gonna take a
Yeah.
while to get to like a combat win or something. But yeah.
I will say one comment that we get a lot from our listeners is that the show helps them become less salty.
Yeah.
Which I think is really funny because, like Tony said, our trajectory is that generally we tend to be more salty over time. I think it's also that we're just more comfortable with each other. and
Yeah.
saltiness is like a joke in our group, and we just love to,
Yeah.
take the piss out of each other because it's funny.
We like
But-
let the salt fly is almost what it is. Like
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
let it be.
No
and are
filter.
like,
We just get
Yeah.
salty and enjoy it.
Yeah. Because once it's all out there, it
Sweet.
just feels a little bit better. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
for
If
sure.
you're like close enough friends and you can yell at each other, that's like just part of the game.
Yeah, definitely. Like when we play with strangers, generally we're on really good behavior. Unless it's Tony and me on a stream, then I think there were a couple streams where Tony and I like just took it over and we're just like beating the shit out of each other and ignoring the other.
I feel like that's natural anytime you play when you know one person and you don't know other people, because it's almost like this game. If it's like, I don't want them to think that I'm being unfair and like not
Yeah.
swinging at my friend. So now I'm basically only swinging at my friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is
yeah.
that like familiarity?
Yeah, I swing
sure.
the pendulum too far, and I'm not one to let things go. So like, if Sam starts swinging
Also
at me, I'm
true.
just gonna keep doing it until he's dead or I'm dead. Like there is no in between.
Yeah. Yeah. That's there's a couple stories you guys have said where people will sit down and you find out after the game that they were friends and they were like teaming up together the whole time to win
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say there's times
Yeah.
Tyler and I have sat down. It's very much the same thing as that, where like Tyler and I beat on each other harder until someone does something that like requires our attention.
Yeah.
And then we'll be like, fuck, okay, now I have to like actually be mean to somebody else real fast. Like I can't be mean to my friend anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem I have with
I'd
that
much
is
rather
usually
play
I
with that.
still don't. I still don't at that point.
You just keep hounding on them. You just let it
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, we usually have to like stop and have a moment and be like, Tony, like, are we fair now? Like, have you got it out of your system now? Can we move on from this?
It's you two. It's not just me.
No, I know. Like, this is what we just have to do in our pod. There are moments where we have to be like, are we cool? Like, can we be done now? And usually that like shocks you out of your salty rage, and you're like, okay, yeah, we can, and let's just play normally now. But there are just these moments where it's like, well, I hit you, well, now I'm going to spite play you, and back and forth, and do as we say, not as we do. Is kind of the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You were mentioning long turns. We used to have this problem, still kind of have this problem.
Yeah, every once in a while.
But we started playing with a chess timer.
Oh, really?
Game Nights brought it up, and they actually have an app for it.
I've seen it.
It's like you have like 25 minutes, and if you hit 0, it's like game over.
That's
in theory.
And how have you guys liked that?
It's been great.
It's really solid.
It's like untap, upkeep, hit your timer, go, and like that's your turn. And we're pretty loose with it. Like we've had a couple like. I'm at 0. Is it okay if I add like 4 minutes? And it's like, yeah, But it just the presence of it like is sped up like games completely.
Yeah,
it's cool. It works really well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like having it there. We go untap, up timer, draw, and then you just let your timer go. We'd stop the timer if you're tutoring, and a couple other things just because it would be like a couple of minutes of basically nothing.
Or like intense combats will stop because we gotta like remind people like
that makes
about,
sense.
But like just like normal like I play this spell, I untap, I cast this spell, like
basically just during your
works.
main phases and stuff. But what ends up happening is the game like culminates, and when one person's like, "Oh, I'm almost out of time," it ends up being the last like turn anyway. So it still kind of keeps everybody on the same page. I don't think we've ever kicked anyone out because the timer hit 0, because the game usually ends during that next rotation. But it does really help. It stops. I was thinking about this. I was like, my one salty confessional is I hate playing an Is It deck. And Tyler's an Is It boy through and through, but if someone's playing an Is It deck at the table, I'm going to try and get your butt before turn 7 or 8, so before you can take that 40-minute turn, because I don't want to sit through it.
Because I will cast Mizzix Mastery, and it will take 20 minutes.
I was going to say, Mizzix Mastery pisses me off more than any spell in Magic. You could take 5 or 6 extra turns, that's fine. I'll go get a glass of water. If you play Mizzix Mastery, I'm going to flip the table and light all of my sleeved cards on fire. I don't want to see it.
That's the fun part, is that you cast Mizzix Mastery, and then you take an extra turn because you've already cast an extra turn spell that game. At least that's what I do.
I mean, that's how you're supposed to do it. But it definitely helps. It definitely keeps the tanking down. Yeah, that way you don't just get distracted, because I think a lot of us all have ADHD too, so we'll just zone out half the time mid-tank.
Yeah, for real.
But it's definitely helped a lot. We might need to bring it back. The last like 2 games we've had have started being tankards. You just like
go back into
2 or 3
habits.
deep.
I dig that. I mean, and that is the most common thing, I think, for everybody. Like, even players that don't care about playing into stacks, or players that don't care about playing into hard control. It's this thing where, like, people want to play Magic. And when you have a long turn and someone is sitting there and not playing the game, and there's other effects in the game that can, like, produce that kind of effect where you're just kind of dicking around and waiting for you to play or waiting for something to happen. Like, those tend to be the saltiest things. There's certainly other things like pub stomping that are more like viscerally salty, but just on the whole, that just having your time wasted really is a salty thing.
Yeah, especially for people who go, you go to see people who go to LGSs. I don't know how much you guys play out, but like there's like it's once a week, and if you're like 4-hour spot to play Magic is taken up by a 3-hour game where someone just like tanked every turn to land and pass for most of the time, you're like, then I should have just played Arena at home. You know what I mean? I basically didn't even get to play. That's the stuff that always drives me the craziest. Is someone tanks for a really long time, and then they're like, land and pass. I'm like, what were you thinking about?
Yeah.
What were you doing that whole time?
I could say I'm fortunate enough to have never had that happen. Like when someone in our pod says they're tanking, like something still happens like that turn.
Yeah,
they've never been like, oh, I'm actually just gonna pass. And if they did, they tanked for like 15 seconds, you know, like it wasn't
that bad.
I think if somebody sat there even for like 3 minutes, which in the scheme of life isn't that long, but like 3 minutes of somebody just sitting there in silence and then played a land and passed, I'd be like, I concede, I'll see you next week. Like, actually, never again. Please don't play with me ever again.
Just burn your cards.
I would be the salty person for sure, and I'd be like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's
that
why
gets me a lot.
That's why we instigated the timer, and it kind of just fixed it. So
yeah,
definitely. If you're listening and you have that problem in your games, do it. It helps.
Yeah, that's cool. We should try that sometime, Tony.
I mean, y'all should do that once in a while. I have a long turn. I will admit that, but y'all take long turns way more than I do, and it really upsets me that you guys yell at me for taking long turns.
Let's just use the timer and see, Tony. Come on, let's just see.
What's more frustrating is you guys will then be behaved because of it. It's like paying for Ristic and Mystic. Like these fools never paid ever, and then as soon as I had one,
that'd always be.
So much aggravation.
Yeah, they pay for yours exclusively.
Yes,
exactly. We do. I don't think Tony's ever drawn a card off a Ristic study.
That's sad. That really sucks.
Yeah.
It's like the most fucking
maybe
bullshit
once,
ever.
maybe twice, but almost never. And he just doesn't play blue, so it doesn't really come up anyways.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah.
Next one was has talking about salty cards of the week affected your thoughts on the ban list at all? Ooh. Should more things be added to the list based on your salty stories, or should less things be banned? Should something be taken off? What are your thoughts?
That's a good question.
If we
We're
can
actually
ban the color of blue, then I would be okay with that. But
ban
and we were talking about this earlier. I'm a pretty firm, and then Sam shares this, I think, like no ban kind of guy. Like what's on there is on there. There's some things that maybe shouldn't be on there, but like most of what's on there is on there for a reason. But I don't want to see more stuff get banned. And I think from looking at the salty card of the week each week, we tend to like realize that like there's obviously a side to each of it, but like usually there's a way around it. There's always like a way around these effects and things that are taxing. The only thing I guess I'd say in addition to that is like if you have heavy stacks players in your meta, just play with other people because fuck stacks. But other than that, like you can basically get around like most of the things, and like I don't think anything is. I don't think the format does better by adding more cards to a ban list. It just starts to like remove more creativity, and like then you've also got like this whole like group of people that are just spending all their time being like, oh, is this fair? Is this not fair? Like, I don't fucking care. This is like a casual game. Like, I don't want degenerates running around, but like, do I give a fuck if like this magical group says you no longer can play with this card? Like, I don't give a fuck, but that's just me.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. You said it pretty well there, Tony. Like, I don't think there's anything on the current ban list that I really want to see off. There's some things that I don't necessarily think should be on there, but I don't think it's going to like enrich the game in a massive way by taking things off of the ban list. And similarly, I don't think the game is going to be enriched too much by adding additional stuff to the ban list. In Magic, especially EDH, where it's this social game, there are so many moments where there's so many cards and effects where just like the social aspect of the game has kind of taken them out of the equation. Like, people don't really run mass land destruction because it's kind of frowned on. Like, it's sort of a soft social ban almost. But every once in a while, you'll run into a deck that has it. And it's kind of one of those things that falls back to... I don't love, like, the term Rule Zero. I usually like to say, like, a pregame conversation. But it kind of goes back to, like, players tempering what kind of game they have and the expectations that they have for the gameplay experience they're going to, engage in. and basically saying like, hey, I'm playing this type of power deck. I want to win on this turn. Different kind of stuff like that, and just trying to communicate what your deck does. And it's like, hey, if you got some salty cards, you should, one, either make them known, or two, if you're in like an LGS environment or playing online or something, and you don't say that stuff, like people might just not play with you again. And it's kind of one of those things that like when you play at an LGS or when you play online in I think what people call like untrusted pods, like pods of strangers that you don't know, yeah, you're going to have some bad games every once in a while. I mean, even in our group where the four of us are like really good friends, play together weekly, have done so for 3 years, we still have bad games. It's just like a blowout and the game is over on turn 4 or 5 and we're like, that sucked. Can we play something else? Like, that's just kind of the variance of the game. So, I mean, I'm rambling a little bit here, but basically I think that there are enough like social things that we can rely on to align like your expectations for what you want in a game, and in doing so you're not going to see a lot of those cards that like maybe some people are calling to be banned or things like that.
Hell yeah,
sweet.
That's yeah, I keep thinking about how everyone was talking about Orcish Bowmaster and how that needed to be banned before the set even came out, and I was like, dude, it's going to be like $60. People aren't even going to buy it, so you're not even going to have to worry about seeing it because it's just not going to be there. Like,
we literally did like a special salty card for it because it's like not on the list yet or anything. And my response was like, the only thing that'll make me salty about this is if they fucking ban it. Like, I would be so annoyed.
Yeah.
Like,
agreed.
But
anyway. They announced they were looking at it like right before the set dropped, and I was like, why? We haven't even seen it do anything. And everyone's like worst case scenario was like, you could wheel and it does 22 damage, and it's like, okay. Yeah. Like, it's not like Hull Breacher where it just stops you from playing the game. Like, that's a fair card to get rid of because that just sucks. Sure. It's good, but it sucks in that situation. But like the other one's just a big body that dies to fatal push. So not too worried about it.
I had a game the other day when I played the Orcish Bowmasters. I made a copy of it with Reflection of Kiki Jiki, and then I sawed in half the copy. So I had 3 Orcish Bowmasters on the field, and it didn't even trigger. I never got a trigger.
Really?
I had 3 of them, and nothing ever happened.
Oh my god!
So
dude.
I just had 3 blockers basically.
That's rough.
So
3 1/1s.
Yeah, but it was sick to do. I was like, this is so dope. I did like 3 damage and amassed orcs, but nothing happened. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't even deal any like extra damage with it. But
I'm also a pretty firm believer in like playing CDH as a means to balance out the power of your casual games. Like, a lot of people talk about Thassa's Oracle and how like maybe that should be banned or something like that, and I think there are some arguments out there that are worth listening to, in that it's like not a very interesting win con. But if you're only playing that in your CDH decks, I think it's kind of fine. The problem really with that card, from what I hear, is when people are running it in their casual decks. And when they're doing that, I'm like, why aren't you playing CDH if you want to play that shit, man? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's something that we saw in our group, where once we all started playing CDH and bringing that into our group, we found all of our really powerful cards were going into the CDH decks. Our like really powerful, crazy combos and those super tight win cons were going into the CDH decks. And we got this like healthier casual meta because of it. And we've since like tuned up some of our casual decks as well, and kind of have this like in between thing that we play, this like high power casual. But like I think about that a lot with Hull Breacher, where it was really like some people in casual games playing Hull Breacher wheels that kind of ruined it for everybody, when it was sort of a fine card in CDH, in my opinion. Like, it was mostly just like a win con in CDH,
Yeah.
I miss it. I miss Hull Breacher.
I wish I sold mine. I had 2 full art ones, and I sold one,
Tyler,
and then I didn't sell the other one. I still have it somewhere. It's just in a case.
Yeah, that's brutal. Mike pulled
25-cent
one.
card.
Mike pulled one like the week before it got banned. He pulled it from the pack.
Yeah,
and never got to play it.
Oh shit.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So
I pulled both of mine. I bought like 2 collector boosters, and I got 2 full art Hull Breachers.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's amazing.
And foil at Sakashima.
Ooh. Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Sakashima's great. It's a solid card.
Yeah, he's cool.
I had a thought and it just went out the window.
I don't have a deck for him. I don't know what to do with him.
He's just chilling there.
I just have one.
Timna Sakashima, man. Do Timna Sakashima. That's a great partner deck.
Oh,
and
really?
Cool.
There is like a CDH version out there where you play like a stacks list and you make like, 2 Grand Arbiter Augustines and just like do crazy shit that is not fun to play against. But also you can just make a casual deck and have like 2 Sun Titans and just do crazy shit like that, Or just like 2 of any.
Now you're speaking my language, dude.
Sun Titan's one of Tyler's favorite cards. Yeah, that's one of his.
I'm a Sun Titan apologist. I think it's still a staple. I think
great.
it's still so good.
It's very good.
It's like the stats. It's a 6 mana 6/6 with vigilance, and that's fine. And then it immediately reanimates something on ETB. You don't have to wait.
Yeah.
It's 6 mana for a big body, and you get it back.
It's
Wait,
great.
Let me see.
It's
Do you think it's a good
for
card? Do you think it's okay?
Yes. Because I've heard people say it's too slow or that it like sucks. And I was like, unless I don't know what pods you're playing in where you can't play just 6 mana for something for like 2 creatures.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bring a creature back, 2 bodies for 6. That's not bad.
And one of them is a 6/6 with vigilance.
Well,
so it's a good attacker. It's a good blocker.
It's a permanent too, right?
Yeah, you can get land.
Yeah,
any
convert a
permanent.
mana
Yeah,
to lands 3 or less.
Yes.
Like in my Falco deck, it gets literally every important piece. Like it gets the Ozolith, it gets Branching Evolution, it gets Hardened Scales, it gets like every good like counters card, good Fortune Unicorn. It gets like anything that's important to make that deck go. It gets the combo pieces. It gets Devoted Druid and Sensei's top.
Oh yeah.
It gets like everything. Like every important card that's gone, I'm just like, well, it's back, and I got to block it.
That's awesome. That's a spicy deck, man. I love Falco.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
It's
He's
a lot
super
of
fun.
fun.
Yeah, it's a good combo.
And I was a Falco main when I played Melee back in the day.
Oh,
and,
hell yeah, dude. Oh my god.
I was a Sheik
he
main,
came out,
so-
I was like, oh, I got it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Nice. Sheik is dope.
Yeah.
I was Luigi, but I was a very weird Melee player.
Luigi's weird.
Yeah, I got very, very good at playing Luigi.
Sick.
Sweet.
Hell yeah. The animations for him are so funny.
Yeah, it was the
That's-
down B, man. You could like shoot across the whole map and surprise people. It was just great. I loved it.
Yeah. The
His
down
wave
B.
dash is huge.
Yeah,
it
Wave
goes
Dash
so
was
far.
huge.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about when we were talking about kind of like mitigating internal power level, one thing that we did that like helped, I think it kind of helped with Salt in general too, is we stopped playing Soul Ring in all of our
Really?
casual decks. Yeah. We just did like an internal like, hey, if we're building a casual deck, just don't put Soul Ring in it because that first turn always ends up really like salty. Because you'll like play your land, play your Soul Ring, play your other thing, and then everyone beats you into the ground for the whole game. And we just started bringing it back because, like you were talking about, we've hit a point where we're trying to play a little more optimized but under CEDH. But for a while, we just weren't putting Soul Rings in the decks and stuff and putting like pet cards in place of it and stuff. So it just always made the decks a little more entertaining. Yeah, there's always just some weird, big, dumb thing in there instead of a Soul Ring, which made it kind of fun.
I feel like
That's
you'd
cool.
have to
I think
pry the Soul Ring out of my cold, dead hands. But, like, if I could replace it with
respect
something
it.
stupid, maybe I would be entertained by it. Like, I would replace it with something that's, like, 8 mana or something. Like, not something useful.
Yeah,
like-
exactly.
You'd have to
That's
have it
interesting.
on it, so it's like, this is my replacement card. This is the Soul Ring replacement. And
Yeah,
now it's
you
more
put a
just
little
a
red
meme.
dot in the
Like,
corner.
what did I pick instead?
That's interesting. We were literally we recorded an episode right before this one, and we were literally just talking about Soul Ring and like whether it should be banned and how the game would be different if it were banned. And I think it's kind of like what you were just saying, Ryan. There's this thing where if you do play a turn 1 Soul Ring, yeah, the game skews in a specific way, but a 4-person game kind of like course corrects for that because everyone's like, gang up on that guy. And maybe it has these weird salty moments, but I don't know. Sometimes it's it can be warping to a game, but not so bad. But that is interesting. I wonder if we should give that a shot. I guess not. Tony just said he refuses.
You'd have to pull it out of my fucking dead hands.
Yeah,
I definitely don't think it should be banned.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
It's
agreed.
like just from I heard someone bring it up, and it was like literally every single precon that's ever been made, except for one, is immediately illegal.
Yeah.
Like that would be insane.
Yeah.
And like just so like all these decks from like the past 10 years, which is like which is like a nice thing about Commanders. You can buy this deck and play it forever.
Yeah.
And like you paid $40 and now you can play Commander anywhere, and like maybe it won't be the best power level, but now we ban that, and now that's ruined.
It would also lower the value of my serialized ring that I pulled out of a collector's pack.
Oh,
I don't think so. I think that'll still be.
I would say we have to protect the investor interest. That's the most
exactly.
important thing.
What we do with our poor whales out there, you know?
The poor whales. Aw. I feel so bad for them sometimes.
Yeah, no one's thinking about the investors.
Yeah.
All the whales that didn't get the one ring, my heart goes out to them.
Oh my god, so funny, man.
I'm glad the one ring went to someone like
Normal.
normal.
Yeah.
It seems like just like a
Same.
dude.
Should have been
And
me.
did you hear that it got pulled on pre-release night?
Yeah.
No way.
No,
I didn't know that.
that's crazy.
So it got pulled on pre-release night, and basically the person just like kept it on the down low. All the people in the store did, and the store itself did, like the employees and stuff. And then they, they got it graded. They like worked out the deal and who they were going to sell it to. And then when everything was final, that's when they like announced it.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Do we know who bought it?
I'm glad that they did
don't-
that too, to be honest, because
Yeah.
like it would have harshed my mellow so hard to have not been able to rip packs and like dream that it was going to be
about
me, you know? Like,
Fuck
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everyone had like a little bit of a Willy Wonka moment.
Yeah.
with it, I think,
dude.
which was really fun. Yeah.
I bought my one. I was like, this is it. And it wasn't it.
Yeah, it's like, this is my one shot, and it didn't get it. It's like, that's okay. It wasn't
Yeah.
for me.
It happens, man. Yeah, we both got a collector's box, and I liked it. It was fun to rip into it. I got some dope cards. The value was there. I dig it.
Oh, the
Tony got
value
the
is
serialized
definitely there.
craziness. So
yeah.
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 Let's go.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
bad for the other creators that like there were a bunch of people that like that night were planning, because it was like a Friday or something, and that Friday night they were planning to do a stream and like open up a bunch of collector boosters on stream. I think the professor opened like 25 boxes, and he was like, "Motherfucker! Like the day I was gonna open all these boxes, like hopefully people still tune in, you know?"
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was going to auction them off.
Oh, that's it.
He was
That's
going to
it.
give them away on his Whatnot stream.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh man, like
Yeah.
it just takes some of the wind out of your sails when it's like, well,
Yeah.
he's not going to open the one ring.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had it for like 2 weeks of hype, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
'Cause,
I
yeah,
loved it.
If it was pre-release and like before the set's even fully out,
Yeah.
and then we're like, oh well, it's already gone. Yeah, that would have
Yeah,
sucked.
that would've been super
That would've
lame.
sucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have sucked a lot.
That's crazy thinking that it was pulled at a pre-release and everyone was cool enough to keep it under wraps.
That is amazing.
That's
Yeah,
like
that's
a-
sweet.
That's a
That's
lot of
big
trust in a
homies.
bunch
That's
of
cool.
random people. Like,
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. I mean, it's probably just a super chill LGS, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I can just imagine being there. I bet the moment was like electric. I bet
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
so
yeah.
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
I
Everyone
would
was
be
probably
losing my
grabbing.
fucking mind if I was like in the room and somebody ripped it. It wouldn't even have to be me. I would be like,
No.
this is the most amazing
Oh my
shit that has
God.
ever fucking
Yeah.
happened to me. Like,
I mean, the odds of that happening are crazy. It's like
Yeah.
less than like you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
Yeah,
like, just
like
the odds of
multiple
even like
times.
seeing it happen is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I like the
Fucking
idea
insane.
too how
Nuts.
every LGS has like the mini fridge that you can go and get pops from and stuff. The minute that it's pulled, everyone's like shaking a Mountain Dew and like
Yeah.
shooting it into the air and stuff. It's like immediately drenched and worthless. Everyone's just too excited.
Maybe that's why I got the 9 on the PSA, some like Mountain Dew stickiness, you know?
Yeah, the gamer stickies on the
oh my
back.
god. Now I'm just envisioning a bunch of
Cheeto
like
dust on there.
nerds,
gamer
just
grease.
fucking like a montage of like Mountain Dew, like showering a crowd of nerds, like fucking
A 21
bathing
Mountain
in it.
Dew salute.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mountain Dew salute.
As
man,
he's
that's what I
walking
want
out
when I
of Skull
die.
Beach.
It's amazing.
I love that. That's so funny.
Oh God.
Nice.
Oh shit.
That Lord of the Rings set's really fun too. We haven't gotten a chance to do a draft yet, but we've been talking about it. I think it'd be fun as hell. I suck at draft, but I think it'd be fun.
Big same.
Yeah,
I do
I'm
too.
garbage.
I just want to
but it's fun.
packs.
That's the best part.
Pai dude. I just want to play like Pai Gow and rip packs. That's like the way to do it.
What is Pai Gow? I know
Yeah,
you guys
for our
talked about it
listeners,
in one of your. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Dude, Pai Gow, this is the best way to open a booster pack, in my opinion. So you and a friend, you each have a booster pack. You crack it open. And you look at the 15 cards inside. You set aside the token, but you keep the land in there. The land has to be played. And you make 5 hands of 3 cards. And what you're going to ultimately do is play against each other, hand for hand, each 3-card hand. But you play with like modified rules. So you have infinite mana of any color. You have 5 life. And that's pretty much it. You have no library, and you only have a graveyard if stuff actually like goes into it. So card draw doesn't really do anything. Graveyard recursion usually doesn't do anything, and you just play games. So if Tony and I like both did this, we would play a game. And generally speaking, you're trying to like build those 3-card hands to be like, I'm going to deal 5 damage as fast as I can. So if you've got like a burn spell in there, or like a creature with haste, sometimes you have a hand where you drop it and you're just like, I win right now, and the other person has nothing to stop you. Sometimes you have a hand, often you have a hand where you're like, this hand is a land and 2 card draw cards, and it does nothing.
Yeah.
And you just try to win the majority of the games. It's like best 3 out of 5. And
it's almost strategic.
okay.
You might put all of those cards in one hand, right? You might put the land and like draw 2 because it's like whatever. It's like nothing, and like just know that you're going to lose that hand. It's like super fun.
Yeah, it's wicked fun. And we play like Mike and I were doing it when we were in Philly because we got a bunch of packs, and we played where you also it's like 3 poison, so 5 life and 3 poison because there's a lot of toxic in mechanic in that set. And then we also played where generally you play where you pick the hand that you're going to play. So like, I'm going into this match with my super shitty hand. I'm going into this match with my instant win hand. And we played where you had to, the other person would pick your hand for you. So you'd be like caught off guard and be like, well, I'm playing my shitty hand. There's nothing I can do. But sometimes you also have like an activated ability and you're like, sweet, I have infinite mana, or like an X spell, and you're like, okay, cool, I just pump it completely full, like do some crazy shit and it's over. Or you're just dropping like a 12 cost spell like immediately and getting the value off it. So it's a ton of fun. It's a great little like mini
fun.
format or micro format, I think they call it.
Nice. Yeah, that
would be great at a con. It's like we're in between events. We can just buy booster packs with our prize tickets.
Yeah,
just do something real fast. Yeah,
it's super fun.
It'd be dope.
Yeah, we'll have to give that a try. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can find the rules online. I think it's PAIGOW, I think.
It is 2 words. Pai Gow.
Yeah. Pai Gow.
Okay, nice.
Tony introduced me to it like a wicked long time ago.
Oh, I did.
Yep. Back in the day, man. Back in college days, I think.
I think so, actually. It was a long time
Nice.
ago. We've known each other for like a decade at this point or some shit. Like,
yeah, it's been 12 years.
oh, wow. Nice.
Hell yeah. I'll say, what, we got...
We're close to a decade, Ryan.
Nice.
I'll say we're one
met.
year shy, yeah. Tyler and I have been together for 9 years.
Cute. Cute. Love that.
Yeah, we went to school in 2014. We graduated in 2018, and then some other years have passed, and now we're here. So
Slay.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Very
Yeah.
We
good.
actually didn't start playing Magic until like 2020. I think
20?
wow,
Oh,
when
wow.
we first started.
During COVID?
Yeah, around.
Yeah, like after COVID, yeah. I started in 2019. Eldraine was my first like set
Okay.
where I was like paying attention to like cards coming out. And then COVID happened. And then maybe 2021.
The first time we started playing seriously together and as a group was when Strixhaven came out.
Yeah, it was a great set.
It was so much fun.
Yeah,
And
it was awesome.
I'm not a big Harry Potter person, So everyone was like, "This is the Harry Potter set." And I was like, "I don't want it. Don't talk to me about it." And then it came out and we cracked packs, and I was like, "Wait a second, this is fun."
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was I loved it. It was one of my favorites. And I'd played a little bit in high school and a little bit like throughout my life because I'd played Yu-Gi-Oh a lot growing up too. So I felt like they were just kind of running parallel. I was sending kids to the Shadow Realm at recess. Okay,
nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
But
you know, in the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, like the unedited version, like the Japanese stuff, everyone just died. There's no Shadow Realm. They just fucking died.
I didn't know that
really?
until like a year and a half ago. And when I learned that, I was like, oh my god! I like when I was annoying my dad as a kid, I was like, "Dad, play Yu-Gi-Oh with me." And then I'd be like, "I sent you the Shadow Realm." He's like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "I don't know." I was killing my dad. Oh, that's great.
It's just killing. Like there's this episode. Like I remember this distinct episode in the anime. It was on like Saturday morning cartoons and shit growing up. And they're like, it's like the Battle City arc or something, and they're playing on the top of a building with like a glass roof.
Yes.
And I found out that like when they edited it for the U.S. children audience, they put this like black portal under the glass roof. So it was like, oh well, you fall and you go in the Shadow Realm, and then you're in the Shadow Realm. And in the original anime, there's just nothing. And it's like, oh, you fall and you die because you fell through the roof of a
crazy.
tall building.
Yeah,
sick.
That I don't know
Brutal,
why,
man.
but that specific episode is super ingrained in my mind. Like I remember that exact one. Like, and that's crazy because the whole thing. It was all edited by 4Kids Entertainment, which is like a subsidiary of Fox. Yeah. I didn't have cable growing up, so I was Fox News all morning, like Fox Kids all morning, not Fox News.
Dude.
Ew, that's a downvote. That did not go along with the not getting canceled bit.
Yeah.
The only good thing about Fox was the 4Kids TV, and even that was pretty shitty.
Even that's really stretching the limit of what is good TV.
Exactly. Yep. It was.
But yeah, I remember that the whole skyscraper, the whole bottom of it is just purple and swirling, and then they drop and they like send them to the Shadow Realm. They had to like edit certain aspects where they're just like floating in purple. Like it doesn't make any sense that they never come back. They never go there. So they are in theory like dead, but they have to show them somewhere. They're like, they're okay. They're not dead.
They're still alive. The Pokemon
They're
just fainted.
in the TV.
Yeah, the Pokemon he went back in the ball because he was tired.
Yeah, he's sleepy. He's a sleepy guy.
The missile is Eepy. We got to take it to the Poke Center.
Yeah, man, I used to play some Yu-Gi-Oh as well. I played like a handful of TCGs growing up. Didn't hit Magic like seriously until college. And I forget like what set was out at the time. I think it was like, Tony, do you remember it was like the Mirrodin, the Return to Mirrodin, kind of like Phyrexia, that set that was happening?
I didn't know the sets. I literally went to Thatsy, which was like a place in Worcester where we went to school, and just bought like one of those like, it was like chaff basically, but it was like 800 cards for like $10. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, give me all these fucking cards. And then I went through them and I was like, oh, these are all fucking trash. Like, literally not putting like any of these in a fucking deck.
Like one of these,
literally,
these dudes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yep, one of those exactly. I remember Kamigawa. It was like Saviors of Kamigawa pre-constructed 60-card decks were for sale. So that was like the time. And like Dissension, like the set, I think which is like the third block in Ravnica.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, the second or third block in Ravnica. There were Dissension pre-cons for sale as well. So that's like around the time I got in and started buying them.
Okay.
And then my friend just brought over literally like a blue plastic tub full of loose cards and just dropped it off at our house. And there was some shit in there. Like, I got a doubling season out of that, and I still have it.
That's hype. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully Bob's not listening to this. Sorry, Bob. I have your doubling season.
Bob's going to come knocking.
Yeah, right.
Get a mysterious DM from B. Oh, what if it was just B.O.B.? That's not even funny. I was gonna say an acronym for Bob. I was like, wait, that's just B.O.B.
Who could this be?
Can we pretend they're in place? That's one way that a bunch of us got started in college was kind of that same thing. We had a friend who was on one of our older episodes. His name is Josh. And he brought what he called Jackal, which is like jank ass something. It's a whole acronym, but it's a draft
Jank
box.
ass cube.
Jank ass cube. That's what it is. Yeah.
Nice.
And so we would just sit in the living room of our college house, like drinking beer and kind of drafting, kind of just like shuffling piles of cards together and hoping it worked out. And
awesome.
It was funny. Yeah, you'd walk in. There's like 12 dudes, 6 rows, 2 by 2. Everyone's playing 1-on-1 with just not even knowing how the game works. And Josh is like walking through like a teacher, like, no, this is how this works. No, you can only play a sorcery at this time. And
oh my gosh,
it's so funny.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like such a good time, honestly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about starting to learn Magic is just the innocence of like playing a shitty draft card and being like some draft chaff, and being like, oh, this card is really good.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I evaluate cards so critically that I'm just like, it's stupid. I'm not even going to read it. Like, done, gone. And there's just this mystique to it where I was like, ooh, like Boros Guildmage. Yeah, I can pay 2 mana and give a creature haste and 2 more mana to give it first strike. This is very powerful.
This is actually probably the peak of design. This is probably the best thing that's ever been made.
You can do so many things.
I vividly remember the first match, like probably the first creature I ever saw was literally just a grizzly bears, and I was like, this is so sick. They're just bears on the card. I was like, I thought they were so sick.
Yeah, every deck like needed a few vanilla creatures just for like balance, Like I needed like a 4/4 for 4, and I was like, this is value. Like, this is coming down. And it's never getting removed because we don't play removal, and I'm just gonna crush.
That was the innocent piece on my side. Like we literally ran no removal. Like
nothing.
There was like some burn, but like exile effects. No, what the fuck is that?
way.
Like whoever got the biggest fucking creature out won.
Yeah, like Swords to Plowshares. I don't want my opponents to gain life. That's a bad card.
Literally,
Yes. It's funny when you're playing a game and a 4/4 for 4 is the dangerous thing on the field.
Oh yeah,
and you're facing it down. You're like, God, it's fuck. I can't do anything about it. It's just gonna beat me.
Oh, it's so true, man. I loved it.
Yeah,
those are the days.
Yeah, for sure.
This
I remember Armored Ascension
the Lord of the Rings
was like the big card for me with regards to that.
Dude,
you get +1/+1 for each planes you could control. It was just like an enchantment aura, and it gave you flying.
And flying.
Yeah.
It was 4
Holy
mana.
shit.
And it was 4 mana, and I ran it in this like fucking white weenies aura deck that I had, and I fucking killed people so many times with that. It was
it slapped.
I would put on a
crazy.
Wrong Crusader, I think they were, which is like 3 mana, 2/2 double strike, and so like I would just instantly fucking nuke people in 1 turn, and it felt so good. I think I'm getting a high
Unbeatable.
right now just thinking about it. Like,
Hey, sorry, I forgot to get my computer charger, so I'm gonna grab that real fast.
Do it.
Uh-oh.
that's why we can't have
Cut
nice
this.
things. This is where you fucking shit on.
cut this.
You just
cut
shit
this,
on
cut
Tyler
this.
now, right? Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, dude. I hate that guy so much.
Yeah, it
He
fucking sucks.
Yeah, give us the real stuff. So he's salty all the time, huh? Sounds so unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like playing Magic with a slug.
Oh man, dude.
No, it's
I know it. Tony, can you go get your computer charger too?
Oh,
I know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
down,
I'll be
but,
right
like,
back.
dude, I know
Yeah.
what that's like.
Nah, it's been a lot of fun. We're all like super thankful he got us involved because that was one of the few things that kept everyone sane through COVID.
Oh, yeah, for
I
sure.
hear you.
There's-
That's where we
Yeah,
broke the
there's
seal
some-
and just started like. I mean, for
That's-
me at least, I started spending a lot of
he's
money.
gone.
Oh shit!
Oh fuck.
I'll say it's just us.
Should we all leave now?
God damn.
That's the
Dude,
podcast
this is all on
done.
video, man.
Oh,
No more.
This is happening
I guess
live.
I forget that this is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I know what we do, so it's like I don't know. Like maybe you'll just keep all this shit. Maybe you delete it all. Maybe you like.
If this is how it ends, this is how it ends.
Nice.
I'm not one to tempt fate. So.
You'll still get a recording. Like it's still happening.
There's enough here. We can mangle it together. It's fine. I have a college degree in editing, so it'll be something will happen.
Oh, do you really?
Oh, slay! I mean, it's audio engineering, so it's just
that's awesome, man. Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got a little. It's not in this room, but I have a little piece of paper somewhere that says I went to school. So,
I have a little piece of paper
Tyler
that says that too, and I have no fucking clue where it is. Like, if somebody was like, "You must prove that you actually have a degree," I'd be like, "I don't know if I can." Like,
I would be like,
framed, motherfucker. I got mine framed on a wall.
Well, I think I did too, but I still don't know where it is.
Legit.
Mine's definitely not framed. It's still in the foam thing that they hand it to you in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere. Maybe I'm pretending. Maybe I don't even have one.
Hey, you fooled me, man. I'm convinced.
Hey, that's
welcome back,
all
Tyler.
I need. So
Yeah, sorry, it fully died on me. But we're back.
it's okay. We weren't talking shit, so
yeah, definitely.
I could actually hear you. I had my AirPods in, and you're like, "Oh, now that he's gone, we can start talking shit." I was like, "Oh, what are they gonna say?"
Slay.
Slay. I heard Let's Fucking Go is the white guy version of Slay.
Oh yeah, it is. Yes,
yeah,
that's fair.
It totally is.
Not for Tony, but for everybody else.
Obviously.
Tony does both. Tony like swaps back and forth.
It depends on where I am. It depends on the circumstance.
Exactly. It depends on the mood
all,
in the moment.
I didn't say Let's Fucking Go all last month at all, so. But I was gonna say, what are we thinking
we
about?
had one more question for you guys.
Yeah, hit us with that last cue. Let's do it.
If you could talk to the rules committee about your salty knowledge, what would you let them know about the format? Any play patterns that come up a lot in stories?
Ooh.
I think the thing that comes to my mind immediately is that there's so much of it is generated from like power level and like mismatched power levels. So much salt in the world is generated from that. And I would tell the salt committee that they like the
salt committee.
Yeah, whatever. It's the
that's
same
what
thing.
they are now.
They're the salt committee now. It's official. It's been put on record. Committee. So here it is. And as we know the most about salt. So like,
exactly.
That's how it be.
Yeah, we're experts. So.
I would say that we should try and eliminate the power scale because I think that it's so subjective. I think that nobody can get on the same page. I've played games recently where like somebody's like, "Oh, this is like a 6.5," and I'm like, to me, you're running like a 7.5 to an 8, and like I played a shit deck and you did it.
Yeah.
Like now,
shout out to Grumpy Coast, one of our patrons who pub stomped Tony in one of our patron game nights.
Sweet.
But I do think that like trying to find a different way to look at it, and there's also been like studies just on like humans of like not being able to handle scales of like 1 to 10. There's too much variation.
Yeah.
And like scales of like 3, maybe 5 are just better. So if there's like CDH, high power and low power, and just like something to that degree, that's not going to be perfect. There's still like a lot of variation there, but like I think the power scale as a whole is people try to start with like a rule 0 conversation that just didn't go well enough because you can't describe everything you want in like the 5 minutes before you pick a deck. So that for me, I think is the biggest trend I've seen in the stories we get, that like power mismatch creates salt in a big way.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, I'll take that in a slightly different direction. I would tell the rules committee that
the salt committee
really that the salt committee. Yeah, I would tell the salt committee that the rule 0 piece that they have, that where on their website that fleshes out like what rule 0 is and what that kind of means. Honestly, I think that needs to be changed because I think it's too often a cop out for one, for people to think that they can kind of play like maybe like a silver bordered commander or something like that. And they might not be playing in a group that's amenable to that. And, now you have somebody who's kind of like wasted their time doing that. Like it kind of implies that the format is more flexible than it truly is. And I think that section really needs to be focused on like what makes a good pregame conversation. And that's something that a lot of content creators have done work to kind of set up like a good framework. We've done it on our show, and we talk about it a lot. But also, like, the Professor has a good video out there on it. Tabletop Jocks, they were, back in like I Hate Your Deck days. We're really normalizing that Rule Zero conversation and putting it like on the screen and trying to like have that be something that people can see and then kind of mimic in their own play groups. But I think that really needs to be fleshed out and be like, how do you communicate your deck power level? These are the steps. And for us, when we talk about it, I think it's like the turn that your deck tries to win. You talk about your general strategy. You talk about like any combo pieces you might have. And, different people are going to feel different ways about that. But I think having a general framework that is available to the masses, and it's something that comes from the RC, is going to set more people up for success than people just trying to figure it out on their own. And that plays very well into what Tony's saying about the power scale, because I also think that is silly. Like 1 to 10, and most people are saying that their decks are above a 5 or a 6. I very rarely hear people say their decks are true 5s, or and I never hear anything below. And it's like, if everyone's deck is a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, then why don't we have like a 5-point system or like a 4-point system? You know what I mean? So I think that is kind of the thing that I would push the RC to do. And, that information's out there if people want it, but I would love to see it like embraced and kind of carried forward by them.
I don't want them to get rid of too much of the salt, though, because, it's kind of our podcast, kind of our shtick. So, like, let the salt continue to
never
flow,
go away.
But,
never go away.
We need our business to stay alive here. But that though could be something in there that is basically just like, hey, sometimes you're going to have mismatched games. There's a lot of variance in Magic as well, and there's a ton of variance in a 100 card singleton deck.
Yeah,
and sometimes you're just going to be blown out, and it's not your fault. It's not the opponent's fault. It's not like a deck imbalance thing. Like, I don't think there's a true balance when it comes to decks. Even if you were playing 4 identical decks, one of those decks is going to pop off more than the other ones. You know what I mean?
One someone's going to have a Soul Ring and the other ones aren't, and that hand's going to be way better than the other one.
Yeah, dude. Or someone's going to ramp hard and someone is going to be mana fucked, and like, it just, I don't think that truly exists with perfectly fair decks other than CDH.
Yeah. Even then it's not, because there's still like tier lists of CDH. Like, Sylvala cannot be beat, but like, you got Dawnwaker, Thrasios, and this other fucking bullshit that just does like sort of run a level above what other people are playing.
Yeah, it's my hot take is that I don't think CDH should be on the scale at all. Like, the whole power level thing is like trying to help casual games.
Yeah.
And CDH is like in its own world anyway. So like, and like, they're not mixed in with this casual thing at all. And like, it's so small, and like as people that are like in the Magic scene, like, we know what CDH is, but in the grand scheme of people that actually play Commander, CDH is so small.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just so, for like very enfranchised people, it seems like a big deal, but it's not. Not saying it's not important. It's sweet and awesome. But
there's a lot of miscommunication about, or misunderstanding about what CDH even is. Like, I remember when I first started playing, somebody was playing like a fucking, what's that big like 11/11 trample infect creature?
Blightsteel Colossus.
Oh, Blightsteel, yeah.
Somebody was playing a Blightsteel in their deck and could cheat it out, and somebody was like, that's some CDH shit. And I was like, man, fuck that guy. And now I'm like,
it's like, I hope you get hit by that
casual
next.
Timmy shit ever.
Yeah, sneak attack into Blightsteel. That's like, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, he's fucking crushing us.
Yeah. I think that's the thing when you realize how to recognize cards too, because that's like the next part of CEDH is like, you think you see something, you're like, oh, this is going to be a crazy CEDH card, and then once you learn it a little bit more, you're like, oh, this is garbage. This is this is a bomb in casual, but you would never see this in CEDH. It's just like the wrong mana curve. It's the wrong amount of value and stuff. Like,
it just doesn't fit into the meta, really.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't give you an insane amount of value, or it doesn't interact for like 1 to 0 mana.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't ramp you.
And oftentimes I'll look at like
besides that, you don't do anything.
And someone will be like, this is a great CDH card. And it's like, yeah, it is, but what do you cut from your deck to put that card in? And when you ask that question, it's like, well, I don't want to cut anything. It's like, okay, well then maybe you're not going to play that card, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
maybe
you
that
have to
card's not
swap it
as
into a
good.
list too, which is the other half of that. But yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. Like when people with that number scale, people generally say like 10 is CDH, and some people say 9 is like fringe CDH or like fringe high power and stuff like that, kind of like where the line blurs. But that kind of pushes Tony's point even more. If everyone's saying their deck is a 5, 6, 7, or 8, and 9 and 10 are CDH, or 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10 are CDH, aren't there 3 tiers of casual? You know what I mean? And then maybe like a 0 tier that's just like absolute jank below that, just, you know, what you guys were doing in college, random pile of shit.
Yeah.
And people just playing whatever the hell they can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got barely enough force to make this shit work, but let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Just I didn't even test this. I think a 3 tiers. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think there's almost this kind of artifact of, because there's so many resources nowadays, it's kind of hard to make a deck that's truly like shit.
Bad.
Like
you have to try.
It really is, because you have to not use any of the resources and just like look through random piles of cards, because there's just like a natural synergy to putting a deck together. And obviously some things are better than others, but I think just with the amount of information there is out there now, it's sort of lowering it's erasing that like low tier of like the 0s to 5s that you never hear about anyway. But it's like they basically can't exist unless you're purposefully trying to make it that way. And even if you are, you're almost naturally going to sort of like still make it good enough to hang. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
I think they exist in like very isolated play groups. You know what I mean? Like people that are just like
don't have internet
about
and just like have a box of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. People that played like 15 years ago and just pulled out all their chaff, and they're like, I'll just shuffle this together, it'll be fine. So
Definitely, man. Like my first deck was total shit chaff pile.
Yeah.
yeah.
But EDH Rec wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah. I was gonna say I helped my friend. We did, inspired by you guys, we did the Secret Lair deck swap thing.
Secret Santa.
Secret Santa. Secret Santa deck swap thing. And he had like never. He doesn't like play Magic. Like he has a precon, and that's kind of it. He just kind of did it just to hang out. And he was like, "Well, I looked at EDH Rec and I found this, and he had a list of like 50 cards, and it was like all the mana rocks he needed, like 5 removal spells and like 5 synergistic creatures, and like that's automatically like better than like a 0, you know? And like he doesn't know anything. You know, he just looked at the website and it told him what to play. You know, which is fine. You know, that's great. That's there. You know,
like you can just click the average deck button, and like you're gonna have like
playable,
probably a precon level, maybe slightly better depending on the commander you're looking at. You know?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, that's super true. Nice.
The internet's ruined Magic.
Yeah.
I want to build my cards out of a soggy box in my basement, and I don't want to have any light.
Yeah.
No light.
Unsleeved.
If I must use a lantern,
bound
that's
by
maybe
rubber
acceptable.
bands.
Yeah, bound by the rubber bands. Like if the edges are
moonlight that
frayed.
filters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the first card in the deck and the bottom card of the deck are super bent from shoving it in your pocket the whole time.
Yeah, carrying it around in your cargo shorts.
Yeah.
Oh,
rubber
yeah.
bands.
I mean, cargo shorts if you're lucky. You know, I was putting mine in jeans. So.
Yeah, cargo shorts were ultimate because you had so much free space that like you didn't need to bend the cards. Like it was okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you basically had a built-in deck.
That was
box
luxury
and
at
a
that
room
point.
for your snacks.
Yeah.
And your Game Boy was in there too. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
oh man.
You see these pants like slowly sagging down to the ground. Like,
I just carry so much shit in my cargo shorts. Like it was ridiculous.
point of having all the
was
pockets
that
if you
kid.
don't fill them?
Yeah, exactly. I was that kid 100%.
Hell
I was
yeah.
on occasion.
Yeah.
I was until someone in college was like, "Why do you need those many pockets?" And I was like, "Wait,
Yeah.
that might be true." And then I stopped wearing cargo. Like I've never bought another pair of cargo shorts since that person said that to me.
Yeah,
Damn.
I feel that. I'm a fanny pack wearer, so once I found the fanny pack, I was like, "Who needs pockets at all?"
Yeah, it's super useful, especially if you just wear it like crossbody even or
Dude,
something. It's just
that's the way to do
holds
it.
everything. Yeah,
fucking
it's
love it.
sick. It's so much space.
Love it.
Well, I was saying,
Well, I
is that
think
about it?
that about does it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us, guys. This was an absolute blast. It was a treat.
Yeah,
chatting
thanks
with you guys.
for hopping on.
Yeah, dudes.
And who are you guys? Where are you from? What is your show called? Where can the people find you if they think you're cool?
Definitely. Well, I'm Sam.
I think that was the part where we say, "Oh, we're the Howling Salt Mine. You can find us."
Yeah,
on,
but you have to say who your name is,
Okay,
Tony.
I'm Tony.
Yeah,
I'm
I know
Sam.
Sam.
and I'm
you're
Tony. And we are
And we're
the.
no, not like that. Not like this. And we're the Howling Salt Mine Podcast.
Salt Mine
We're
Podcast. Okay, cool. Sorry.
We're a weekly Magic the Gathering comedy advice podcast. We're putting out new episodes every single Thursday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever podcasts are found. And yeah, tune in. We've got like a solid backlog. If you enjoyed our weird banter and our funny jokes and all that kind of stuff in this episode, then jump on into the Salt Mine and get a little bit more. You can hear us read 3 salty stories every episode, salty card of the week. We're singing little songs. It's a good time. We got a great theme song.
Yeah,
Yeah,
slam
maybe
an
theme
intro.
song.
Yeah.
Join the mine. Put on the miner's cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I turn my
Light
little
your
headlamp
lantern.
light on
Become a
every time I
prospector.
come down. Yeah.
Become one of the prospectors, which is what we call our fans.
Yeah. Join
I love
the Patreon so you can get in their Discord. I'm in there and it's cool.
Yeah,
There's
fuck
good
yeah.
stuff in
Hop
there.
in the Discord, man. It's a great time. We love it.
Hell yeah.
We get some bonus
Hell
content. Got a bunch of that shit.
Fuck
Thanks
yeah,
again for
let's
having us
go.
on, guys. This is a ton of
Yeah,
fun.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
thanks,
seriously. Thank you
so
guys
much
for
for
being on too.
being on.
So yeah,
And
it's
thank
been a
you to
great
all
time.
the Commander Paradisians for listening. What do you guys call your listeners? Commander Islanders?
Islanders. is
Islanders
nice.
would be pretty fun, actually. That's pretty good. We haven't had a name yet, so
Well,
yeah.
food for thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Islanders is pretty dope.
yeah, I like
Definitely,
that.
we'll talk about that one for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to talk behind the scenes. We'll figure this out. But
Hell yeah.
yeah. Seriously, thank you guys for being on. This has been a blast.
Yeah, it was fun, guys. I'm stoked to listen to it once it comes out.
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. See ya.
Yeah, thanks for watching. If you're watching, thanks for bearing with us while we get it out. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.